My name is Siemens, and I am the mayor of the city of Abbotsford. Well, Abbotsford is the agriculture capital of Canada. I think our farm gate receipts are per hectare yields are 3 times that of what they're getting in the Niagara region. We are, I believe, the leader in North America. We compete with Fresno County in California. So it's very important to who we are as a community. It's the backbone of our economy, and it defines who we are, but it also is very important for our future and for food security for our province. Yeah, again, it is the farm to table component, people understanding where their food comes from, how it's grown, how it's produced, how it's processed, the nutritional values, those are all vitally important. And the food tourism, the culinary component, I think there's some unique, when people travel to other parts of the world, they'll go to Italy and they'll go to Tuscany. We want people to come to Canada and go to the Fraser Valley and understand what's grown and how it's presented. There's some really unique opportunities working with our First Nations, some of the unique things that can be grown here, and I think there's a real opportunity for us to really put ourselves on the map. Yeah, while working with our partners at UFV, working with existing businesses that are here, that's growing the existing businesses, for government to understand what its role is, and then making sure that we set the table and then we get out of the way and let the private sector run with it. That is I think, the only way that we're going to understand how this works is letting the private sector who understand how products are grown, how they're processed, and then how they're marketed, and then government has a role to play with as far as making sure that we have the infrastructure in place, making sure that we have the regulatory is flexible enough to understand that it has to change. Somebody just mentioned that our Agricultural Land Commission is 50 years old. Some of the rules that are there are representative of what happened 50 years ago. So just modernizing that, but being very cautious on how we do that, because there is always unintended consequences. But I think we have to understand what government's role is and not overstep our bounds, and making sure that the levels of government are working together so that we can actually set the parameters for this to flourish. Well, what I liked was, in the first panel discussion, it wasn't this or that, it was this and that. So I think that there is a role for all of us to work together on some of these complex issues, and there is no one right way. I think it's going to be a combination, like anything that happens in our society. I think it is the collaborative, the academic component, the business component, and then the governmental component, how they have to work together. They can't work in silos. And so I really was encouraged that we were starting to break down some of those barriers and having differences of opinion, but then how do we make those differences? How do we build on the strengths of all of that working together? Because I think there is no one right way or wrong way, but it's everybody working together on some of these solutions. Yeah, I think what I was really encouraged about is the sense of humility that people expressed. It wasn't like my way is the right way or my way or the highway. That was really encouraging to me, to see how people were saying, yes, like, okay, I understand what you're saying and that has some validity. I'm going to push back and say that, this is how I see it from my perspective as a, in this particular panel, that gentleman was the grower and this other person was looking at from an academic perspective. And it's how the two can work together and have healthy differences of opinion, but then come together and say, okay, we can make this work.